Hello everyone. Now, in this chapter, we'll study about demand and its determinants. This is all the table of contents which we'll study. That what is the meaning of demand, individual demand, market demand, its determinants, demand schedule, and its curve. So, when the first question arises, what do we mean by demand? Right. When we see this image, first talks about desire, then want. Now, if a boy wishes to buy a cycle but doesn't have enough cash, so it is a desire and not the demand, right? Now, he has got the cash from his father, which means that it is converted into wants and still not the demand, which means what? That in order to call any commodity as demand, or any desire into demand, the person should have the ability to purchase that commodity. What do we understand by the term ability to purchase? Which means he should have enough cash, enough money to purchase that commodity. That becomes your demand. So it is the willingness and ability to pay for that commodity at a particular price in a given period of time. You can see that I wish to get an ice cream, plus I also have money. So that is why I'm ready to pay. That is your demand for ice cream. So the technical definition of demand is it refers to the quantity of a commodity which a consumer is willing to buy at a given price in a given period of time. So this time, this given price, and the consumer's willingness to purchase is refers to as demand. The next question comes individual demand, which means the demand of one individual consumer. So that means the same. It refers to the quantity which one individual is willing to buy at a given price in a given period of time. And we talk about the schedule. Now in microeconomics, you'll find n number of schedules, right? So you can observe the schedule is between the price and quantity demanded. These are the two different variables. So you can observe at different price levels, you have different quantity demanded. Now, what we have observed from this, that is that as my price keeps on declining, my quantity demanded keeps on increasing, right? Now, this is, why does it happen that when your price decreases but your demand increases? Because everybody wants the commodity at a lower price. When you plot the above table, you'll get the curve as a downward sloping demand curve, which means that there is an inverse relationship between price and quantity demanded, that when your price increases, your quantity demand increases, and when your price increases, your quantity demand decreases. So this is your individual demand curve. Coming to the market demand, we have already talked about individual demand. So market demand is that it is the horizontal summation of all individual demands, which means that at one particular price, how many units different users are willing to purchase. You can see that he is willing to purchase 2 kg, he wants 1, and she wants 4. So when we add all of them, we get 7 kg, which is our market demand. So market demand becomes what? Sum total of the quantities of a commodity that a consumer is, that all the consumers are willing to purchase in a given period of time. So this is the market demand schedule. which means at price 10, A wants 5 units, B wants 4, C wants 3 units. Their sum becomes how many? 12. But as and when the price reduces, their individual demands keeps on rising. So your market demand. The market demand is what? Nothing but the horizontal summation of individual demand. So you can see this curve that at say $5, C wants 4 units, A wants 6, and B wants 8. So when we add all of them, we get what? Market demand for ice cream. So which means we are adding horizontally. The next comes your demand function. When we hear the term function, it means the functional relationship between the demand of the commodity and various factors affecting it. In reality, there are n number of factors which actually affect the demand of any commodity, right? So from that, we have individual demand function and market demand function. Now, we have to see that what are the factors which affect the demand of a commodity. So let's see. There are 5 major factors which affect the demand of a commodity. First is the price of the good itself. Second, consumers' income. Third, price of related goods. The next, consumers' expectations and tastes and preferences. So these factors have an impact on the demand of the product. So let's understand one by one. First is the price of a commodity itself. So what do we say? That the demand and price of the commodity have an inverse relationship. How? That when the price of the commodity rises, its demand falls, and vice versa, provided the other things remaining constant. Other things remaining constant means the other factors other than the price are remaining constant. This is also known as the law of demand. So what does the law of demand states? It states that there is an inverse relationship between price and quantity demanded, keeping all other factors constant. And when we plot this graph, we get a downward sloping curve, which means that as and when my price keeps on declining, my quantity demanded will keeps on increasing. So law of demand. So when the price goes up, demand goes down, and vice versa. So this is demand schedule. Schedule means basically the tabular representation of the data, and curve is the diagram. So we know that the demand curve is a downward sloping straight line curve. The second factor is price of related goods. There are 2 types of goods. One is substitute and second is complementary. So substitute goods are those goods which can be used in place of one another. Which means that suppose the price of one of the good increases, so what will I do? Say tea and coffee are substitute goods. If the price of tea increases, I would prefer to have coffee. So demand for coffee increases. Coke and Pepsi. If the price of Coke increases, I would rather shift to Pepsi. So the price of one commodity is leading to rise in the demand of another. So that is why they have a positive relationship between them. So you can see that if the price increases, demand of another increases. If price decreases, demand for this decreases. So they have positive relationship. The next is complementary goods. Now these are those goods which are used together, like sugar and tea, pen and ink, then your car and petrol, needle and thread, right? So these are those goods and they possess negative relationship, which means if the price of one good increases, then demand for another decreases. Let's see how. If the price of ink increases for a fountain pen, you would rather prefer to shift to say ball pen or to pencil. So demand for another decreases. So complementary goods, if the price of one increases, demand decreases and vice versa. The next comes as the income of the consumer. Now again we have two type of goods. One is your normal good, another is your inferior good. So normal goods are those goods who possess direct relationship with the income of the consumer. When your income increases, you would rather prefer to have some better quality products. So those become your normal goods. And you would rather leave some old kind of products that will become your inferior products, inferior good. So normal good are those goods whose demand increases with the increase in the income of consumer and vice versa. And inferior good are those goods whose demand decreases with the increase in the income of consumer. So they possess negative relationship and it possess the positive relationship. Let's see with an example. Say toned milk and full cream milk. Right now you are consuming toned milk. When your income rises, you would rather prefer full cream milk. So full cream milk becomes your normal good and inferior good becomes your toned milk because now you do not want that commodity. So as and when your income keeps on rising, you would rather prefer some luxury goods, jewelry, right? Those becomes your normal, and you stop eating some low quality products. That becomes your inferior goods. Consumer taste and preferences. If the consumer's taste and preferences are favorable, which means they are changing with the fashion, food, music, entertainment, then the demand for those particular things always changes. Like for TikTok, ripped jeans, right? So web series. So when the consumer's taste and preferences become favorable, demand also increases and vice versa. Next is your number of consumers. So now when the number of consumers increases in the market, then your demand curve also increases because more people tend to purchase the same commodity. Then the next is future expectation of price. If the people are expecting the price to rise in the future, right? So they will prefer to hold the commodity and they will prefer to purchase more of it as of now. So demand in today will increase and vice versa. So these are the determinants of the demand which affect or factors which affect the demand. One is price, second is price of related goods, which is substitute and complementary, third income of the consumer, that has normal and inferior goods, then taste and preferences of the consumer, the number of consumers, and future expectations of the price. I hope we are clear with this.